Elon Musk is making some major moves for Tesla. His posts over the last 2 days are pointing to signs there's something very big coming. First, after saying he's back to spending 24/7 at work and sleeping in the factories, he confirmed that he's focused on unsupervised full self-driving in Austin. Second, he forwarded a number of videos, one of which was Walter Isaacson's talking about how Elon gets into these missions that drive him. We'll talk about his grand new mission that he's been posting about now. Third, Elon also posted a video of him saying that it's basically financially insane to buy anything except an electric vehicle that is upgradable to autonomy. Fourth, Elon also posted yet another video, this time of NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, saying Tesla is focused on the right things, robotics and autonomy. Finally, there are yet more posts of FSD forwarded by Elon. We got Cern Basher today with us. Jeff is out this week. Thank you so much for filling in for Jeff. Thanks, Cern.
Hi, Herbert. It's good to be here. I think that for most companies, they look forward to our summer slowdown. I think in Elon's case, it's a summer acceleration.
There's no weekends. There's no summer. Having Elon back, not only 24/7, but I feel like he is on a mission. We'll talk about that. I feel like there's something big going to happen. He's hinting at it, but you can see that he's going to solve the problems that we have today. FSD, autonomy, they're not problems. Like, these are the opportunities that are about to come. Robotics. But then there's something, he's talking about an even bigger mission. So first, a couple days ago, he posted this. He said, yes, and unsupervised FSD in Austin. He's responding to this post that he gave first, back at work, spending 24/7, working at and sleeping in the conference rooms, server factory rooms. I must be super focused on X, XAI, and Tesla. And then he said that this Nima said, Elon Musk says he's going to be super focused on X and XAI again. It's very good news. I think we can expect X to launch X Money and X Chat sooner. And that's when he said, and FSD on autonomy. What's your thoughts about that comment?
Well, there's a lot going on there for sure, isn't there? There's opportunities with what's happening at Tesla with unsupervised rollout of FSD or the robotaxi network in Austin. And clearly X and XAI, there's a lot going on there. And then, of course, with SpaceX, which we'll talk about in a minute. The funny thing I picked up from his comments there was if it's too cold in the conference room, he can always go to the server room where it's probably a lot warmer.
Yeah, with that comment that he's sleeping in the factory room, the conference rooms, and the server rooms, that tells you everything, right? He's making sure that the growth of the supercomputers is happening, the server rooms, and sleeping in the factory. So it's still very much about these new vehicles that are being produced. Maybe the Cybercab's more likely it, or the robots.
Hopefully it's the robots.
I know you want the bots. You're the bot bull. So he said, again, just to confirm, Tesla owner Silicon Valley said, what are you doing this long weekend? Just to anybody. He replied to him saying, working. Okay. So he posted this video. So it's one thing when Elon replies to somebody or repost something. But in this case, he took a video. It's an old video of Walter Isaacson talking about Elon that Tesla owner Silicon Valley posted. But he downloaded the video and decided to post it as if it's his own. So that's very interesting. He really thinks this is an important statement for people. Let's watch what he said.
Having watched Musk very up close for a couple of years, I'm going to say something that you might think is naive, but I really believe it, which is he has certain missions he's had his whole life. He read Isaac Asimov.
Yeah,
he read the Robot series. He thought the robots might turn on us. I have to come in and save us from hostile AI. I have to make us multi-planetary.
Yeah. What do you think about that, sir?
Well, I think that's a key insight from Walter that we've heard before. And I think for Elon to reiterate this now, again, he's sending us a very clear message that he is absolutely mission driven. It's everything that he does is with such a long-term focus in mind, right? And I think that we all give him, a little bit of grief in terms of, his promises about 2 weeks this and 2 weeks that. But ultimately, everything that Elon has worked on, or many things that he's worked on, has come to fruition, and many more to come. And he's just sending the signal that is what he's squarely focused on. I think there's been a lot of criticism over the last 6 months about how he's allocating his time. And he's telling us in no uncertain terms that he is extremely focused on everything that's on his plate with respect to his companies.
Okay. So I took two important things out of that video. Okay. So the first one is, in order for robots to be a threat to humanity, there has to be a significant number of them.
Mm-hmm.
10 million, 100 million, a billion, 10 million robots, pretty scary. Like he's talking about a legion of robots, 5,000 at a time. And so he wants to make sure that they don't become dangerous to humanity, right? He needs to focus. So he took that video and posted it himself. So number one, it has to have that big, which is good news for Tesla investors. That means he's all on board. And the second thing is, oh man, I lost my second thing. Darn it. What's your thoughts about the number of robots first?
Well, Elon has mentioned many times that he thinks that Optimus will be the fastest scaling product in history, right? And, we've got a lot of different products that we can look at. And Apple, for example, I believe scaled the iPhone, I think it was over a 9-year period, from 0 units up to about 200 million over a 9-year period. So if Elon is comparing himself to that, then that's certainly encouraging in terms of the ramp. And certainly last summer, he was talking about numbers far higher than that in terms of the ramp. 10x kind of increases on an annual basis for a period of time. We'll see, what can actually be accomplished and what issues Tesla encounters with the ramp. Most certainly, Elon is very focused on ramping Optimus as quickly as possible at some point. I don't think that ramp is coming this year. We're going to see early production of just a few units, and whether it's 5,000 or 3,000, to me, it doesn't really matter. But once they get things worked out and they're happy with the form factor of the robot and the way it's working, this ramp, I think, is going to be pretty spectacular to watch.
The second point, I just remembered what it was, is that so number one, of course, he's talking about huge numbers of robots. But secondly, that means that his concern is that he wants to make sure that he has 25% ownership of or voting control in case these robots become sentient or whatever. He wants to have some control, make sure they're good for humanity, not bad, which means, again, that he is committed to the company Tesla and he knows that there's a path forward. So there is nothing holding it back anymore. There's this, theory by Tesla Qs. He's going to leave the company. No, he's all on board at this point. The other theory I have is that, how he kind of toned down his number of robots. He said 1 million by 2030, 2029. And you think he might have done that because of his upcoming compensation package. He doesn't want to promise that there's going to be 100 million of robots by 2029. He doesn't want to say that quite yet. Set the expectations lower.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I look at this as the totality of his comments on this over time.
Nice.
And there's been a pretty broad range, I think, of his comments, and perhaps maybe the most recent ones that he made on the last quarterly earnings call were on the lower end of that range, and then last summer there were some ones that were on the extreme end. And so it just may reflect his current state of mind. And it seems clear now that he was, his optimism regarding Doge had waned, right? And now he's refocused on growth, and that's the way for the United States to get past its problems, is to grow our way out of them.
Which means, that's why I'm saying this, it means that he's going to have to increase, he's not going to shoot for 1 million robots for 2029. Right. He's going to shoot for a lot higher before 2029.
That's right. Yeah, so, I think in that case, he just may be trying to set the bar, lower than where a lot of people were at. But I'm not so sure I believe that that's really what his target is. I think it's a lot higher than that.
Exactly. And that's why I suspect it's got something to do with the compensation package. Okay, so let's get to your post. And then Elon, you were predicting this before Elon actually confirmed that's what he's going to do, which is pretty cool, Cern. This is something you just said now, but you had said something similar before, right? And you said, or was this something you said before he said something about this?
Well, there was some posts kind of flying back and forth last week, and I sort of said this in the middle of everything.
Okay.
And I was expanding on what Elon had initially sort of made a short comment on. And I wrote this post and sort of tried to expand on what I thought Elon was trying to tell us. And later he really confirmed what I said indirectly. He didn't respond directly to this post. But my point with this was that as Elon has spent time within the political structure of our country, he's seen the problems firsthand. And I think it's clear now that he is less optimistic about our political system ability to fix itself, right? He supported a party to win, the party got in power, and even that party in power that has the House and the Senate still isn't able to move as quickly as perhaps he was hoping that they would. And I think now he's frustrated with that. And so I think it's clear now that in order to fix the system, you have to break it first, right? And what I mean by breaking it is that you have to ignite economic growth in such a way that we've never seen before. And that forces the system to fix itself because it'll be broken in many ways, right? And that was kind of the gist of my post. And so one of the ways that Elon can do that, of course, is sort of unleash autonomous vehicles on the world. And as we've talked about before, the impact on that is profound. And then, of course, that pales in comparison to what happens when you have millions and millions of humanoid robots initially doing the labor for humans, the types of jobs and tasks that we don't want to do or that companies are finding it difficult to hire for. But again, eventually also it does replace most of the activities that humans do, even activities that people might like to do, just with the sheer number of humanoids and the operating cost of those bots. And so that forces changes in our political system, right? And one thing that we've talked about before, again, if people are losing their jobs to AI and robotics, how the economy functions has to change. If people are no longer receiving income for work, that's going to force a change in our economic system, right? So that's very scary, and it's kind of a challenge to sort of see our way through that right now. But just when you think about it from a conceptual standpoint, if you can produce everything that humanity needs at an extremely low cost, let's say it's at 1/10 the cost that we have now, then that in theory should unleash a period of abundance. And Elon's called it superabundance or sustainable abundance. I'm getting the terms mixed up with Tony Seba, who calls it something similar. And so I think Elon sees that as his superpower, right? In creating innovations and pushing them out to the marketplace at scale and really sort of forcing change on the world. It's kind of sad in some ways that he realizes that the government can't fix itself. But when you're faced with that realization, you sort of have to sort of step back and say, okay, well, what can I do? And it's good that he's again refocusing on his companies. I think shareholders will definitely appreciate that.
Yeah. It's lit a fire on him, and he's realized that there's only one solution now. He tried to lower the debt, and he's done a good job doing that, but it's not enough. He's going to, and I like the way you framed it. I'm going to show this now. You said drive down the cost of energy. That's one thing I can do, right? Increase the energy. Now we get to the sustainable abundance. You and I did a show with Adam Dorr just a few days ago. That was a fantastic interview. He talked about stellar energy. What happens when energy is low cost, available everywhere, basically take advantage of the sun. Elon's been making many, many posts the last day or just yesterday about solar being the solution to all this. Drive down the cost of energy, drive down the cost of transportation, right? Autonomous drives, drive down the cost of labor, right? Robots. All of that will then change the legacy institutions, maybe make debt irrelevant. And he's been posting about how the more money you make, GDP for a government, the less you have to be worried about the debt as much. And that's the path forward now. Reduce the debt. It was a great way to do this. But, the other path is grow the top line. So that's great. Great post.
Yeah, we've all seen that debt as a percent, that government spending as a percent of GDP has been growing over decades. And so the idea is if you can grow GDP at faster than the rate that the government can spend it, then that helps. Yeah. Now, the cynic and a lot of people says, well, governments will always find a way to spend more and more and more. And that may well be true, right? But let's hope that there is some kind of escape velocity on this. I was just gonna add, Herbert, that high growth kind of becomes a forcing function for change. And that was the idea that I was talking about. That again, I think Elon, an hour or two later, subsequently essentially confirmed.
Yeah, all of your forecasts, it's showing that it's like the amount of money you're going to make, the government, the cities, the robot vendors is so insane that it makes even maybe the debt doesn't look as bad as it could be. Here's Elon. He's saying this. He said this already a while ago. He said, I've come to the perhaps obvious conclusion that accelerating GDP growth is essential. Doge has and will do great work to postpone the day of bankruptcy of America. But the profligacy of government means that only radical improvements in productivity can save our country. Highly recommend people to check out Cern's X account. You've been on fire, creating post after post and new table and research on exactly how much GDP can you impact with the productivity of autonomous cars, with energy plummeting, and with robots. So this is another post that Elon reposted, and yeah, it's great. He said this in this a long time ago. He said this, right? I think it's basically financially insane to buy anything except an electric car that is upgradable to autonomy.
I think it's basically financially insane to buy anything except an electric car that is upgradable to autonomy. It's just nuts. You can see one country after another is putting dates on banning gasoline and diesel cars, and the environmental pressure to move away from fossil fuels is getting stronger and stronger. So it's just basically mad to buy a fossil fuel powered car at this point, because its long-term resale value will be less and less. And then it's also important to buy a car that is upgradable at least to full self-driving, because a car that cannot do self-driving will also be worth not very much. You know, I've made this comment before, but like essentially, if you buy a gasoline car that's not full self-driving, this is like riding a horse and using a flip phone. I'm like, hello, this is not wise. So you know, it's really, it takes us a bit of time to educate consumers about this, but I think people are starting to get it, and I feel like, you know, a car is a major investment for most people. It's often their most valuable asset, and if you're going to make a choice about your most valuable asset, you want to look towards the future and say, where are we headed? Clearly we're headed towards electrification. Clearly we're headed towards autonomy. And so that's the kind of car you want to get. So I think this is, people are starting to realize this.
So Cern, when do you think that people will start to realize this?
That's a good question. You know, I feel like a lot of us on X have been talking about this, you know, for some time. Most of us are now aware of what happened during the transition from horses to cars, right? And again, just as a reminder, horses went from a form of transportation for most people to a form of transportation for very, very few people. And the horses themselves were basically turned into food. They were transitioned from being a form of transportation to a form of food, right? We found some other use for them, and it's a terrible, terrible thing, but that's what you needed to do with the surplus of horses. Elon's sort of saying that we're going to have a surplus of vehicles that can't drive themselves, and they're going to be virtually useless to humanity at that point, right? So what will we do with them? Well, they'll just be scrapped. We saw exactly the same thing with the transition from landline phones to cell phones, and even cell phones themselves to smartphones. All that stuff just gets trashed. It just gets thrown away, hopefully recycled. When I say trashed, I mean recycled and reused. And hopefully that's certainly the case with ICE vehicles. So we have all these examples of that happening in our history. And yet on the cusp of this change, most people just refuse to recognize that or see it, or, you know, even want to believe it. They just can't. And I guess it's one of those things, unless you live through it, although again, we have lived through examples ourselves of the cell phone transitions, right? We've all lived through that. Every single one of us has seen that firsthand. And yet that's what's coming for vehicles that can't drive themselves, right? And he's trying to hit the point home in a very profound way. It's like riding a horse with a flip phone. I think a lot of people hear that but don't really understand what he's saying. As odd as it sounds to think of somebody riding a horse with a flip phone, I think most people still don't understand what he's trying to convey there, right? But I'm not sure that you could come up with something that was more clear than that.
Yeah, and yet there are so many people we know we're talking to just don't get it. So they'll say, competition is coming. Have you seen this car, that brand? Tesla's market share is falling. And you're like, okay, what will happen? And that's why I asked you, when will the media understand this? Maybe June, maybe not, maybe a year from now, when they will realize that, oh, when you buy a Tesla, you can added to a network where it's self-driving. Oh, if I buy a Tesla, it's going to help me. It's going to drive on its own to the point that it's safer, but also makes my drive much more comfortable. Why would anybody buy a car that's not upgradable to autonomy? And certainly why buy a gas car? But right now, they're still thinking I'm going to buy a gas car today, and they're not thinking about resale value in the future because they don't see there's a difference between an EV and a gas car yet, or autonomous upgradable car.
Well, and it's interesting too. A lot of people have sort of taken that intermediate step of buying a plug-in hybrid, right? Which is sort of a not a horse, not a car kind of a thing, right? It's a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And so there's a tipping point. Again, Tony Seba shows us that there's a tipping point, right? There's a point at which the old system fractures and we move pretty rapidly to the new system. And so the question is when? That's your question. Waymo has shown that self-driving cars and a robotaxi network works. It's just that they've been scaling very slowly. And so it really hasn't threatened a whole lot yet. Although, again, I think if you look at their data from San Francisco, I think it's disrupted Uber and the other ride-hail companies pretty severely there. But again, that's one market. I think a lot of media would say it's kind of a unique market. People are very, tech forward in San Francisco. It's not an indication of what's to come in the rest of the country, where it's going to take, decades and decades for people to accept this. So if Tesla can, as Elon has talked about, rapidly scale the robotaxi business, it looks like, sometime next year. They're talking about a very slow start in Austin, right? And they're talking about, rolling out to other cities this year. That's great. It's still kind of a slow start because Waymo is only operating in 4 cities and they're talking about rolling out to another 3. So far, Tesla's robotaxi expansion plans looks a lot like Waymo. So there's no alarm bells going off yet in terms of, suddenly something big is happening. It's just like Waymo as far as the media is concerned. But Elon has talked about having, I think, 1 million vehicles in the robotaxi fleet by towards the end of the year next year. That's not like Waymo. Waymo cannot scale to that kind of scale in the next 12 months. They might be able to double, maybe triple if they're lucky, right? So they might go from 1,500 vehicles to maybe, if they're lucky, 4,000. So this is what's different about Tesla. And I think, obviously, it's going to actually have to happen before anybody's going to start believing it.
Yeah.
Does it need to be 1 million? No, it doesn't. It'll be, the media will figure it out before it hits 1 million vehicles. The disruption will happen pretty quickly as that's ramping up. So to answer your question, I think it's sometime next year.
Exactly. I was going to say it's within a year. And a good point that you made about how these exponential curves and the Tony Seba disruption. I mean, this has not been proven once. He's got thousands of examples of new technology coming in, and the people with the legacy tech, they just refuse to believe it, despite that there's thousands of examples. Even things like the toaster or the microwave, like he's got these examples, and they're all the same, right? There's an exponential curve of the new tech. At the same time, there's an exponential decline of the old tech. And people just refuse to believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's no doubt about it at this point. EVs, gas cars, autonomous cars. So if you don't listen to Elon, you don't believe what he says, listen to Jensen Huang, right? This is what Jensen is saying these days. This is an old clip, I think, it's an old clip. But again, it's like Elon posted it just yesterday. He took the video from Tesla in Silicon Valley and he reposted it. So it's like, again, why did he post it instead of just reposting it? It's something that's very important to him.
Well, Tesla is far ahead in self-driving cars. But every single car someday will have to have autonomous capability. It's safer, it's more convenient, it's more fun to drive.
No, it was an 11.7 clip, and I think it was just a very quick one. But that's what Elon posted. He's focusing on the right things: robotics, autonomous cars. This is Jensen Huang saying this. So
yeah, I mean, I think Jensen Huang, he carries a different weight, I think, than Elon does. Right? I think that when Jensen speaks, I think that certainly a lot of people in the media listen to him. Right? They may discount what Elon says. So for Jensen to talk highly about Tesla and Elon, which he has many, many times, not just in this one clip, but many times, and up until quite recently. So that's important. This is one of the most important tech leaders in the world at this point, and he's telling everybody that Tesla's in a very strong position. and also talking about the change that's coming. Everything, as Jensen has said, everything that moves will one day be autonomous, right? And that's a big statement to think about that.
Yeah.
Everything that moves, that's down to your golf carts. It's down to, vacuum cleaners. It's literally everything that has wheels will be autonomous one day, right?
Yeah. And anything with a camera will be artificial intelligent, will be intelligent.
Or really, any electronic device will have intelligence built into it because it'll be so cheap. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So he did say Tesla is far ahead in self-driving cars. There you go. Right from Jensen Huang, far ahead. So don't think that anybody's going to be able to copy this in 3 months, as some people have said. It just boggles my mind. So we'll see what happens there. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I feel like the same people that say that others will copy it in 3 months are also the ones saying that Tesla won't solve it anytime soon.
Yeah.
So which is it?
Which is it? Well, I think they're saying that once,
or not.
Once Tesla solves it, it's software, and any time they've seen software before, it's copied very fast copies by anybody else. This is not software. This is neural nets, data servers. It's not something you can copy. So it's an intelligent neural net.
It's like saying, Herbert, once you learn something, then I will know it too tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, my brain is actually distinctly separate from your brain.
Yeah.
Right. I have to learn it just the way that you did. And same thing with AI. You have to go through that process.
Yeah.
What other institution, company has invested the amount of money that Tesla has in the infrastructure to train a self-driving vehicle system? I'm not aware of any company in the US that's doing it. Now, now Waymo does tout their AI in their vehicles. And so they're using AI system to train their vehicles now. The question is, how far along are they and how good is that relative to Tesla? Clearly their cars are capable of driving. And, there's issues with Tesla's FSD. There's issues with Waymo's, the operation of their vehicles. So let's say that even that if Waymo's on par with Tesla with their self-driving capability with their vehicles and their AI capability. And, and certainly with Google, you could expect that Google would have the resources to do it. Well, where Waymo falls apart is in their ability to scale. They won't be able to match Tesla on that. So even if the skeptics are right and say that once Tesla solves it, their competition has it. Okay, but where's their ability to scale that?
Yeah, even Waymo has already announced that they have 1,500 cars and they're gonna get 2,000 more next year.
Yeah,
and that Jaguar I-Pace has been discontinued by Jaguar, and Zeekr can't be bringing those cars over here. So what did they do? So they got 2,000 cars next year. That's their scale. Okay, so that's here's again the focus here is what is Elon been focused on? Why is he been forwarding these videos? And he forwarded another one. Here is him forwarding this one. This one is from a guy named Amit, and he did FSD and he drove FSD to Boston. Elon took that video, posted it as of himself. Listen to what he says. Now, of course, it's just the FSD is great, another one of those, but listen to what he says at the end.
All right, Boston, I'm here. As you can see, although my Knicks, had to do what they had to do, I decided to rep the hat today. Although my Knicks are getting clobbered in the finals, so it's whatever. But gonna have the meetup in a bit. Really excited to see everyone in Boston. One thing I just wanted to say is the Tesla FSD ride that I did yesterday, coming from New Jersey to Boston. First time I ever drove 5 hours. I think the most I did before was 3 hours, but that was not an FSD car. Yesterday was FSD, and it was wild. Like I did not have to take control of the car, because the car didn't make any mistakes. And it was just insanity. I stopped in the middle to get some food, and that's pretty much it. And then throughout the next 2 hours, I think I stopped 3 hours in. First 3 hours, nothing happened. Next 2 hours, nothing happened. There were some moments where I kind of wanted to take control, because I was like, oh, is it really going to make this lane switch? Is it really going to take this exit? And it just does it. And it's getting to the point where I'm starting to believe that neural nets and the way Tesla is thinking of AI philosophically, and then obviously paradigmatically in terms of the technical execution, is supreme. It's better. It's better than everyone else. And now robotaxi is going to be obviously something hard to scale, but the product itself is so good. And this is why Tesla didn't have to do advertising for so many years, right? If the product is so good, people will inevitably find it. I think this might be the same thing when they unveil robotaxi. So this was a wild experience. I got 5 hours tomorrow to go back to New Jersey. Not gonna hopefully have to intervene again as well. And yeah, I feel like I need more Tesla. I know it's expensive. I know the earnings sucked, but I feel like I need more Tesla.
Yeah, so Elon forwarding this again. It's one thing when we all keep forwarding our own FSD experiencing unsupervised works really well, like works perfectly now because of the neural net. And it's not even like the last. There's going to be another update that has been being trained for the last 6 months. But Elon now forwarding that video himself. It's real. It's here. I don't know if he forwarded it because of the comment about the stock. I wanted to share yet another post by ARK Invest, Brett Witten. He said, FSD, this is what he has experienced happened to him. FSD pulls through an intersection, but traffic unexpectedly clogs, stranding the car in the right of way. I'm about to intervene when the wheel turns and pulls into the asphalt curb margin, right, to the right of the car in front to clear the intersection. Pulls back into flow and the traffic clears. Mind blown. This has happened to all of us. Like, stops, especially you're cut in the middle and you're going, oh crap, I don't want to block intersection. So he pulled into the curb, over the curb, right, to do this. And Elon said that is really, really cool. I mean, that is the difference between, yes, I'm going to make sure I don't get hit by some, unidentified object, but it's an object, which is what LiDAR is able to do, or intelligence. So we're here. Elon posted that video.
Just let me add a personal story too. It's not FSD related, but it should be or could be in the future. So I was driving my Cybertruck on Friday night, and in the intersection in front of me, there was a car turning left onto the road that I was coming down. Behind that vehicle was a guy driving a truck. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but he ended up putting his right tires off the road, and the road kind of dropped down a little bit. And so he then corrected his mistake and got back on the road and turned too far left. His truck swerved into the left lane onto oncoming traffic. Fortunately, there was no vehicles close. He once again overcorrected for that mistake and ended up flipping his truck.
Oh my God.
Rolling the truck and landing in a ditch in a big puddle of water. And I saw this huge splash, and the truck was upside down in the ditch. I'm immediately on the phone calling 911. To make sure that they send help. Fortunately, other motorists also stopped, and the guy was okay. Everything was fine. Turns out the guy was a firefighter going to deliver some ice cream to his buddies in the firehouse. Right? And a moment of inattention, the moment of something else created this accident that would have been totally avoidable had the vehicle been equipped with FSD. These are the kinds of accidents that we will eliminate. Right. And again, the head of Waymo in a recent speech talked about 1.1 million people die on the roads every year. This is what we're aiming to fix, among other things, among reducing the cost of transportation and all that. But the cost of human life is what needs to be fixed here. And for some reason, we're all OK with 40,000 people dying on the roads every year. That's in the US. It's 1.1 million worldwide. So I am glad that Elon is so mission driven on this, because that is something that's really unacceptable, that we now are on the cusp of having a solution to fix ultimately for the entire planet. And that's really exciting.
I'm going to take it one step further. I'm confident to say that it's solved. FSD and robotaxi is happening. It's going to happen in June for robotaxi, but the fact that the technology is already there, that they can already see it. You and I are experiencing it every day. It's already at the point that it is safer than a human. We just want it to be 10 times safer, 20 times safer, superhuman. And that's where we're headed. But it's a no doubt in my mind at this point that FSD, this idea of a robotaxi is going to succeed. And then robots, you and I follow that very carefully. It's there. I think it's exciting to see Elon back, focused, but not just focused, not just spending time and sleeping. That's all very important. It's his drive. His drive is just been in super drive. And I think that and that's what we did today, looked at all of his posts in the last day or two, he is now, there's something big coming. I haven't even shared the other things he talked about, right? About his comments about solar, his comments about trying to get 1 terawatt of energy, his comments about, the GDP. And you have been following that closely. So folks, I highly recommend you check out Cern's X account. that's something big, and something is brewing. And I think that they're going to probably announce something big, but focus on the things that matter right now. FSD unsupervised coming this June, and then the Starship launch, and then the robots, all that. Yeah.
It's interesting. I'll just add this, Herbert, that we have, a fair number of people in this world that are focused on the future, but there's not many who can actually do something about it. Right. And Elon, I think, is one of the few unique individuals in the world that has the ability to think about the future, the ability to do something about it, and also the ability, frankly, to stick with it when times get tough. Right. He's been pursuing this self-driving dream for a long time. And sure, we can find fault with him for saying it's around the corner, the end of the year, and it hasn't come. But you know what? He's stuck with it. It's been a very challenging problem to solve. Waymo has been at this for 16 years, right? So the fact that Elon and Tesla have been at this so long as well, you know what? It's fine, but the ultimate prize is worth the effort and the anxiety that it's caused some people that they've had to wait all this time. It's coming.
Thank you very much, Cern. Appreciated you today. That was great comments, and you were right in the middle of all of it. Follow Cern. Check him out. He's a chartered financial analyst. He's got a company called Brilliant Advice, and check him out there. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Cern. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Herbert.
Bye, everybody. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.